Hi, welcome along everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to change a single panel radiator like this one here for a double one and double the heat output into your room. So before we even begin with this operation, you might be asking, is this a hard job to do? Well, if you make sure that you've got a rad that is the same size as the one you're replacing, it's a very easy job you can do yourself without draining all the system. You've only actually got to drain the radiator itself. So to that end, first of all, we're going to turn off the thermostatic valve end, or if you've got just an ordinary turn valve, just turn it all the way off. So we do that now.
Can I ask a question? Can the central heating still be on while you do this?
Yes.
So then what did you do to keep the central heating running? How did you stop it going to that radiator?
Right, so we're going to turn the valve off. This is the thermostatic valve. Most people have one of these. I've already turned it off, but it's usually on something like number 3 or whatever. But wherever it is, just keep turning it all the way until it reaches 0. That end of the rad is now off. We've got to go now to the other end.
So does that stop the water going into it then?
Yes.
Right.
It comes up there and in there.
Okay,
Let's stop that going in there now. So now we need to go to the other end. Now on the other end, this will be what we call a lock shield type valve. On mine I've actually got a turn cap on it, but usually it's a lock shield valve. You pull that off and you'll see a square connector like this on top of the rad, like a square key, I should say. This is the top of the valve, and this stops the water from going in this side. So very important with this one that you count the amount of turns that this goes off, because your system will be balanced and we don't want it just on full when we turn it back on. We need to know how many turns that is actually on by, because it might only be on half a turn or just 1 or 2 turns, just enough because it doesn't want to be robbing the heat from other parts of the system where the rads may need more turns because they're further from the boiler. So it's a very important one, this one, that we actually count how many turns we turn this off. So I usually put it in, I count each one a turn like that. There's 1 for me. So again, there's 2.
So you're turning it clockwise.
Clockwise. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. There's 6. There's 7. So I think this one must be virtually fully on. And there we are. 7, just about 8 turns, and it's off. 7 3/4 to be accurate. All we've got to do is remember that amount of turns when you turn it back on. But this particular one, I think it was probably virtually full on that amount of turns. So now we're ready to start emptying the radiator full of water. So to that end now, you can need a little receptacle under the rad, under the towel, some towels and stuff in case there's any water there. But now we can safely work on this rad once it's emptied out of water and get it disconnected and off the wall. So taking any end you like, it doesn't matter whether it's the thermostatic end or the other end, we're going to crack this nut open and get the water out of the radiator. So to that end, I usually use a pair of footprints like this and a spanner, mainly because you've got to hold against this radiator valve when you undo it, because if you just put that spanner on there and turn it downwards like that, there's a chance that valve could all swing back and kink the pipe. So it's quite important that you hold against, we call it holding against, when you undo this valve. So with that end, we've got to get that, and a nice tight fit on there. Let's get a bit of grip, that's it, ready. There you go. Then you can see the water start to come out. Now, it won't run for far long, because until we open the radiator air valve, the water won't run very fast because it needs air in to let this water out. As you can see, it's kind of stopped there now. So the air valve is just here above the radiator valve. So get your key and just open the valve. And now we should be able to get the water out of this down below. Yeah. It's starting to run now. That's it now, the air is entering into the air valve and letting the water out of our pipe here now.
Oh, it's tiring work, isn't it, Mo?
Moving on to the lock shield end. Once again, I use my footprints grips on there like that to hold the pipe against. My spanner on the nut and just turn it like that. Once it's cracked, it'll undo fairly easy. You won't need that anymore then. You can undo it. And get any water out that's left in the rad from this end. I usually get it all out the one end, and then there'll be just a tiny bit, if that, on the other end. Usually not much at all, but we'll see. No, there's nothing there, as you can see. So now the radiator's ready to come off the wall. So here's the rad off the wall. It was a double-handed job, so Jan had one end and me the other. We lifted it off. You get a little bit of black sludge out on one end, so if you tilt the rad up, like we tilted it into the bowl down there, just to get any that's left in the very bottom of the radiator. Alright, and what we do then is we just simply twist the rad upside down. As you can see, it's now upside down. And you won't get any more water out then, and you're quite clear to take it away then. And basically, simple job. Next thing we're going to do now on the old radiator is take the end fittings off so they fit at the old radiator valves. Okay, so they're like the little threaded bits that go in that I've just undone. I've shown you there. So I'm going to take this out of there now and the one out the other end and screw these into the new one, and then they will exactly fit your radiator valve. So to that end, a spanner on here, and let's undo it. So to that end now, we're going to undo it. It will be tight. Just keep going, persevering, it'll come out. Next bit of the operation, the old towels that you've just taken out the old rad, we're going to make them up now ready to go in a new one. I've got some PTFE tape here, which is probably what most of you will have. I sometimes use Boss White in them, but I'm going to use the tape today just to show you how it goes. Fitting in the left hand, the thread goes around like that, and wind the tape around the thread. So we go like this. Nice general bit of liberal application. Oh, look at that, look at that. It's like wrapping a bandage. Tear it off. That's one made ready up. Okay, wind it in the thread like so.
So why do you have to do that?
Makes the joint now so that when you screw this in the rad they'll be watertight. Now with our radiator upside down, so we've got the bottom entry holes, put in our towels as we call them, rad towels. We know that these will fit those radiator valves in there, so we'll screw these out. That's all we've got to do. Turn them in, tighten them. Now the tricky bit, measuring the brackets. Everybody's got different ways of doing this. This is my particular one, but it might be yours, might be something different to mine. But when Mo gets out of the way, I'll show you. Yes, thank you. We've got a little job to do, Mo, do you mind? Right, okay, no, Mo's in the way, hold on. Right, okay, rad brackets. So what I do is lay the rad on its front, make sure it's on something nice and soft, like a carpet or something. Get your bracket, you've got two ways around it can go, off the wall that much or off the wall that much. So you decide how much you want the rad off your wall, okay. Bear in mind it's going to be wider anyway, this radiator. Mo, it's going to be wider anyway because it's a double now and not a single, so bear that in mind. If you want to put that back on the longer setting, it's going to be even further off the wall. Okay, I'm going to have it on the shorter setting. So what I do now is, if you see that goes in there like so, to the bracket, that's on the bracket, and you can see there the middle part of the bracket. Okay, so what do we do? Basically, there's that fitting screwed in. Now just to show you, normally, so around about an inch further than that is our measurement, because we've got some leeway here with the bracket about, which is good. So we do, it hasn't got to be dead precise. Now I've got an old rad valve here just to show you something now. I'm going to slip that on, because that really is kind of like our fitting depth. So we can go off of that. So if you look at this now, I'm going to put this rad bracket here, show you something else I do. If you see now, if I hold this level with the rad valve, you can see, looking down at the rad valve as well, can you see the rad valve? Roughly, it's kind of 7 centimetres more or less to the centre of the fitting. Okay, and from this side, to get to the middle, put that back, you can see that if the pipe was going down inside there, if you hold it in the middle there, that it is basically it looks like about 14, 15 I'd say, up to the middle of the bracket. So from the middle of your pipe you measure 15 back. Okay, I'll explain easier later. And obviously from the centre of the pipe we're measuring up 7. So to get the width across measurement from the centre of our pipe there, we know it's 14. I know you've got to kind of do it by eye, but if you look smack on, you can kind of see it more or less where it should be. Because you've got a bit of leeway with the radiators, the brackets, you get that kind of nice bit of width there. You can actually get this, it doesn't have to be spot dead on. Okay, so that's that width done. Now we've got to do the height width measurement. Obviously, centre of that valve there, you can see that. We're going to go up 7, which is what we measured it out. So we know 7 is our mark. Yeah. It's close to a mark I guessed actually earlier. Not too bad, is it? So there we are, have our mark now. That's going to be the corner of the bracket going up the wall. So we're going to have it this way, so you can see there where it's going to go. So there we have our level on there to make sure the bracket's nice and straight. Get that bubble in the middle. Not too bad. So holding it there, make sure you're in your little square there that you've marked. You can do it in the slidey bit to lift it up and down if you want the bracket, or just do it directly through the holes. I like to do it directly through the holes, the little ones I like. They're my preferred favourites. And that's where we're going to drill the 2 holes for this bracket. We're getting in now. We have our brackets up, okay, screwed in position. One last thing, before you lift the rad bracket on, you'll see these little things, okay, in the packet that come with the radiator. And these like anti-rattlers we call them, and also it stops the metal touching metal. And it just slot on top of the bracket here. There's slots there, you see they go in like that. They're quite simple, same with the bottom next one. Just slot them down and get around there. In they go like so. There we are, we've lifted her on in place, and as you can see the rad is dropped exactly into our plastic little grommet there on the radiator bracket. Make sure the bottom one is in also, get round the side and have a look and just check it's in. There's also a middle bracket with this one because it's a heavy double. If it's a shorter double you won't have a middle bracket as well, but these longer ones require 3 brackets. And once you're there, check the level and we're ready to put the pipes in. So here we have ours. Now we're lucky to come out under a floorboard. We've got plenty of leeway. One thing you all find with these doubles is that you have to pull the pipe slightly forward to fit it. Otherwise, you know, if you haven't got that leeway, it can make life rather awkward to get from there to there. But if you've got a lot of play, like I've got on this one, I can just flip it over like that and screw it straight in. Make sure you get the thread straight, and that's it. Now we just got to tighten it up. So as before, we hold against with the footprints. If you don't want to mark the valve, you can always put a bit of cloth around it. These are old valves, I'm not too fussed about that. And just do it up as before, holding against all the way. Okay, you just get to nip-it point there, and that's it, done. Same thing again on that valve. I've just done it up, you don't need me to go through that again. Okay, so that's all on now, but we haven't turned any water on yet to the radiator because there's something else we've got to do. So what was it that was so important? Let's have a cup of tea. No, that is not it. No. What's important is now that this is a fair size rad. We took that single out, which has had a bit of water in there, quite a bit now. Obviously some of your inhibitor that's in the system has come out. So we now need just to put a little drop back in because we took a significant bit out. If the rad's probably about half this size, you'll probably get away with not having to put any in at all because it's just a tiny bit. As it was this size, because you're looking at this kind of fat 5-footer, I think we need to stop a little bit in. So we're just going to get our little device, which is ideal for the job, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is our little device I like to fill up any inhibitor in radiators with, called an easy fill. And if you've got the kind of lugs that come out the rad like we've got on here that you screw in for the air valve, then you can just screw that straight in there, as you can see that. So we can just screw that straight into the radiator and pour an inhibitor in there. So it will go straight into the radiator. As I say, you won't want much out of a bottle if it's a full bottle. You just want a tiny small bit just to replace the bit that's been in this radiator Depends what one you get, inhibitor wise. Some come in a gallon bottle, you'll want a bit more of that, or if you've got the concentrated one, Sentinel one, then you'll need just a small bit just to put back into the system. That's it really. Oh, forgot to say, I will give you a link if you want to get one of these. Very handy for doing any of these type of things, saves a lot of mess. You can of course use a hose pipe with a funnel and just stick it in there with the funnel and pour the little bit of inhibitor into it that way if you don't want to get one of these things. But it's just a cleaner way of doing it. Easy fills, great stuff. Okay, let's move on. Easy fill screwed in, bit of inhibitor, say not much, I've worked mine out, it's only a small amount, and we just tip it straight in through the easy fill. It's a piece of cake. Well, I'm having the air valve up this end. It comes with a rubber washer there, so there's a plug at the other end. Just screw it in, it doesn't need too much tightening. Just spanner on there, just tighten it in. So when it gets to the end, you'll feel it nip, and that's good. It has to be a little bit tight, because otherwise sometimes if it's not tight enough, when you undo the valve, the whole thing undoes. So make sure it's sort of fairly tight there. Okay, that's it, that's plenty. So I screwed my plug in now, we're kind of ready to go. Make sure the air valve is off at the other end before we turn the valves on. And the first one we're going to turn on again is our lock shield one here. All you've got to remember is the amount of turns that you turned it off. Okay, and we just turn it the same amount now back on. We're down to the bleeding part, so get your key. Actually, you get them with these radiators a lot of times now. Get plastic ones, they're a bit horrible and nasty, but these ones are not too bad, the metal ones. Put your key in there, bit of old towel or something, and you can hear the air coming out there now. You hear that? Okay, so you may find when you're bleeding that the pressure suddenly dies away. And now this will happen if you've got a combi like us. So now's the time when we've got to go back to the combi now and repressurise it, because there's not enough force to get the air out. If you've got an ordinary F&E system, a little tank in the loft, a hot water cylinder and tank, you won't have any of that problem, lucky you. You would just be able to bleed it until the water comes out and job done. But us combi people. So it's back to the combi boiler where we'll probably find the gauge is 0. So let's have a look.
So before you go, where do you leave that key and that
Well, I'm going to turn it off again.
Back off
we're
again.
going to repressurise.
Yeah.
Put it there ready. And now we're going to go down to the boiler and repressurise it. Here we have the filling loop on our boiler. Most of the new ones now are directly underneath the boiler. Here's our cold main one, and this is our return one here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start filling this in. I've already turned that one on, and we're going to open it up and let it start filling up the boiler. Yours might be in a different position. If it's an older boiler, you might have your filling loop somewhere else, not exactly under the boiler like on this one, but it all depends. But what we're going to do now is turn on and start filling loop. So I'll show you the gauge now. Okay, and we're going to start filling. Can you hear that? See the gauge start to move. Keep it going. You can take it up to 1.5. When you're filling rad, actually you probably get away with 2 bar, because it's going to go down for the first couple of fills once you open the air cock. Anyway, well, here we are back at the rad. So once again we should have pressure here now. And as you can hear, we have, because we've pressurised the boiler. So we've just got to keep going until water appears there. When it dies off again, if it does, we go back and pressurise it again. When it's all finished, we've finished the job completely, we pressurise the boiler back to 1.5 bar, and that should be it. We'll keep going for now. You can hear the pressure tailing off. Okay, so rad's finally full up. I've repressurised it back now to the point I want it to be on the gauge, 1.5 bar. So now shut both the valves off. As I say, I did open one of them already, but shut that one off, shut the main one off, and that's our filling loop closed. And that's really almost the finished job, apart from one thing. And that last thing is, don't forget all our videos, you know where to go. Derrickton 33. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.